And here we are with Chapter 17 of the Landry News. Rescue Squad tackles cleanup. Wonder who the rescue squad's gonna be. Kara felt awful. Mr. Larson had just told the class that the Landry News could not be published anymore. At least not right away. He had made transparencies of the letter from Dr. Barnes and put them on the overhead projector so the whole class could see them while he explained what was happening. Then he showed a transparency of the story about the boy and the divorce. So the overhead projector and transparency is what they used to use. What we use now is the red bug. So same kind of thing. You can put it up there and shine it up on the board. Mr. Larson said, "Now it's important for each of us to think very clearly about all this." Glancing over the 23 faces looking up at him from the darkened room, his eyes met Kara's for a moment before looking back at the screen. Some of you might be tempted to think, oh, if only we had not published this one little story, everything would be all right. But is that true? No, it's not. Because if it wasn't this story, it would have been some other story, or some review of a movie, or a review of a book that someone does not like. You have to remember that publishing this story was the right thing to do. It's a wonderful story and a brave story. And I know that it was very good for a lot of people to read it and think about it. And a lot of people have told me that it's the best thing the Landry News has published so far. So that's the first thing. The paper just told the truth. It sounded good hearing Mr. Larson say it like that, but it didn't make Kara feel any better. She had a copy of the newspaper on her desk, and her thoughts went round and round. I should have known better. I should have thought about Mr. Larson instead of the stupid newspaper. I should have just handed that story right back to Michael Morton. I should have known better. The classroom snapped back into focus for Kara as Mr. Larson turned off the overhead projector and Sharon flipped on the lights. As the kids squinted and blinked, Mr. Larson said, "So someone thinks that divorce is too personal to write about in a school newspaper. I'm the teacher in charge, so I'm the one responsible. So it looks like I am suddenly in trouble. But am I?" Picking his way over to the bulletin board, Mr. Larson tapped the Bill of Rights poster and then rested the pointer on the First Amendment. Am I in trouble here? Or is something else in trouble? Mr. Larson could see by their faces that all the kids got the idea. It was Kara who said it. She said, "It's the First Amendment that's in trouble. The freedom of the press is in trouble." Then she frowned and said, "But I still think you're in trouble too." Mr. Larson grinned, touched by Kara's concern. "Well, I am perfectly sure that there's nothing for any of us to worry about. We've all been doing good work here, and now, thanks to this situation, we're going to get to learn about the freedom of the press in a way that very few teachers or kids will ever get to do. Besides, I've been in trouble before, and let me tell you, I think this is the best trouble I've ever been in." A few of the kids laughed a little when Mr. Larson said that, but not Kara. Walking toward the front of the room, Mr. Larson glanced at her. She sat stiffly in her chair, glaring at her copy of the Landry News, biting her lower lip. Back at his desk, Mr. Larson picked up a stack of stapled handouts and passed them around. "This is your study packet for this unit. Take a look at page 1 with me." For the next 10 minutes, Mr. Larson walked the class through all the steps in the process, things that would happen before the hearing, at the hearing, and after the hearing. He wanted to make sure there was nothing mysterious, nothing scary about any of it. He did not paint Dr. Barnes as a villain or himself as a victim. It was not us against them. It was just a contest between two different ideas of what was right. What was the greatest good for the greatest number? As Mr. Larson calmly explained everything, Kara relaxed a little. He wasn't just pretending to be brave. Kara could tell he was truly excited about all of this. And when Mr. Larson squinted and rubbed his hands together and said, "It's like we get to mess around in our own private democracy laboratory," even Kara had to smile. She flipped ahead to look at the last page of the handout, looking for a clue about where this whole thing would end up. There was only one word on the last page: conclusions. The rest of the page was blank. That blank page was actually comforting to Kara. She was used to looking at blank pages, and she was used to filling them up with things that were true and good. To Kara, that final page looked like hope. Nothing to post today, but I want to leave you with something. What do you think is going to happen with Mr. Larson? Do you think he's going to lose his job? Do you think he's going to get in trouble? Do you think the Landry news will continue? It's lots of great questions. Think about it, and I'll see you next time.